Hello, welcome to your Week 6 preview. It's going to be a little bit of a summary one this week. I didn't have time to get the script down, so we're flying off the cuff this time. I got a couple news and notes here. Steelers, Fat Morte and Robert Downey Jr. have averaging points in the 140s. They're low men on the totem pole as far as points go, but Robert Downey Jr. has a 3-2 record, followed by Steelers at 2-3 and Fat Morte at 1-4, who's looking more ahead to next year than everybody else. He still has a chance. We've seen crazier things happen, and he should have the team for it, but I think the age is finally getting to his team, and especially in his backfield. So let's go to our matchups for this week. First up, we have brother versus brother, resting bitch face versus snarl, Greg versus Darren. Greg got off to a pretty good start with that Saquon Barkley guy on Thursday night, and that's definitely going to make it a lot harder to win. But if you break it down, it's a fairly even matchup because Snarl has Todd Gurley and Christian McCaffrey. I think still the best starting duo in terms of best two running backs on one team. And after Saquon, it kind of drops off for resting bitch face a lot. But they make up for it with A.J. Green, Julio at receiver. They got Golden Tate and Marvin Jones on a bye, however. So that'll give them a little bit more trouble as they'll put in Calvin Ridley, who also has been hot, but he can have his cold games. And Mike Williams, who also isn't getting the consistent production yet, but he'll be in for this week, hoping for a lot of points there. On Snarl at receiver, we have Robbie Anderson, Tyler Boyd, Stephon Diggs, and Mohamed Sanu. That's pretty good for Sanu's been a little down this year thanks to the Calvin Ridley we were just talking about. But Tyler Boyd's been red hot. Robbie Anderson started coming on last week. And Diggs could blow up at any moment. So this is anybody's game. I'm going to give it to resting bitch face just because of the Saquon points. I mean, it's hard to leave that out of my mind when trying to predict the future. But 40 points is a lot of points to put up by one player. So I'll say resting bitch face takes a win for the Gold Conference, improving to 4-2. And Snarl will slip to 2-4. No T.Y. Hilton or Evan Ingram for Snarl. Definitely hurts him this week. Next up, we have the Steelers taking on the Raging Hartons in a Gold Conference showdown. This is a big game for the Steelers. They don't want to drop to 2-4. The Hartons, same thing. The whole Gold Conference, you got resting bitch face at 3-2, leading the pack, and then the rest of them are all 2-3. So a big game for both guys. I think the Hartons definitely has the team, just like last year. They put up the most points, and or 2 years ago they put up the most points and fell short. But they have the team for it. They have Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield, and it looks like Alvin Kamara is on a bye this week. So that's a little unfortunate. That's definitely a lot of points that's been helping them get through to this point. So instead they have to put in Alfred Morris and Latavius Murray, who I think is playing again this week with the Dalvin Cook injury. It'll be a questionable backfield, but they got Julian Edelman coming back. He looked all right last week with Devontae Adams there, and Robert Woods is super hot. Hopefully for him, Kupp or Cooks don't play tomorrow. That'll definitely boost him up. And the Baltimore defense, who's been shutting guys down, you definitely don't want to be playing against them this week. On the Steelers side, of course, we got Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger. That's anybody's question. Those guys can blow up and win the games all by themselves, or they could just do okay sometimes. The backfield is struggling as he has Corey Clement and Naheem Hines. Naheem Hines has been sneakily good, actually. But Corey Clement, that's a little up and down. You don't know if he's definitely splitting time with Smallwood, and hopefully they don't bring in anybody else in the future. At wide receiver, you got the white duo of Jordy Nelson and Adam Thielen. Jordy's actually coming on the last couple weeks, and Thielen has been hot, the last couple years. He's kind of just nonstop production there. And they got Austin Hooper at tight end going against Jimmy Graham for the Hartons. I'm going to give this one to the Hartons. I like the Phillip Rivers is an underrated quarterback. He puts up a crazy amount of points every week. And just top to bottom, I'd give it to the Hartons because I think the Ezekiel Elliott is the driving difference here. Hartons have good wide receivers all around. Steelers are a little top-heavy wide receiver, but they're just lacking in running back production right now. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. Next up, we have Evans Enforcers versus Robert Downey Jr. Another inter-conference matchup here. Robert Downey Jr., like I said, 3-2, going against the 2-3 Evans Enforcers. Robert Downey Jr. has been struggling a little bit in terms of points, and you can see why. Alex Collins, Bilal Powell, they're good, but not great running backs. James White is doing pretty well, though, and he's putting up a lot of points. You got Aaron Rodgers at the helm, which always helps, and Keenan Allen catching passes, but his receivers after that are really hit or miss with Jamison Crowder, Quincy Enunwa, and Deshaun Jackson, especially with the return of Jameis Winston. It's hard to tell what Deshaun Jackson is going to be like for the rest of the year. Wrap that up with a strong Travis Kelce at tight end, though, and it definitely gives him a fighting hope. However, on the other side, you have Andrew Luck, followed by Coleman, Crowell, and Mixon, and Yeldon at running back. Fournette's out, and that stinks for Evans Enforcers, but they got the handcuff, and they got a good player in Yeldon. So that's a really strong backfield, especially for 4 players deep, followed by Evans, Smith-Schuster, and Watkins at wide receiver, and Ebron, who's finally having a good year now that he's out of Detroit. I think this one shouldn't even be close. It should definitely be the Enforcers. You never know with football, though. It could go either way as usual, but I'll definitely say the Enforcers. Next up, we have Fat Morte versus the ARG in a Black Conference showdown. ARG's coming out hot 4-1 against the not-so-hot 1-4 Fat Morte. That would direct you to think that the ARG should win this one easily. However, Fat Morte has some really interesting players. They got a lot of points from Alshon Jeffrey now that he's back. That's going to help them out. They got Tom Brady leading the pack. Melvin Gordon, who's top 5 running back this year, I think. And then Jordan Howard, who's been pretty disappointing, but he could always have a good day. Followed by LaShawn McCoy, who's dealing with some ribs. He needs him to stay in the game. But the big running back news there is Sony Michel. Hopefully he can get another 20-point game out of him. I like the way he looks. New England gets ahead especially. This guy's going to get a ton of points. But they'll be in a shootout with the Chiefs. Hopefully they can stay ahead and not just be following behind and give James White a big day. At receiver, John Brown, really good this year. Sneaky. He's on a little bit of a downturn, but him and Flacco definitely have a connection going. He's got the speed to get down there, and Flacco's got the arm, and he's accurate with it, unlike Big Ben, who can't throw a deep ball. But besides that, he also has Cooper Kupp, who has the concussion to deal with. Hopefully he'll be playing tomorrow. I didn't check the news on that. If not, he's still got some solid wide receivers on his bench, and Sterling Shepard, Larry Fitzgerald if he's healthy. And after that, it gets kind of thin. But he's definitely got a backup to throw in if he needs it. For the ARG, you have Kirk Cousins leading the charge. Newly acquired off of Robert Downey Jr. It was a good trade after Jimmy Garoppolo went down, and Marcus Mariota is coming out pretty flat and injured this year. The backfield's not too great, as they only have Kareem Hunt is really good, but Chris Carson's the second running back, and I think he could have a bad day any day of the week. Mark Ingram's definitely breathing life into this backfield, but he's on a bye week, unfortunately. But you don't need running backs when you can put these 5 receivers in. Keelan Cole is the 5th receiver, who's not great, and that's because Allen Robinson, I guess, isn't cutting the mustard, and Keelan Cole might be doing better. I didn't do my research there. But before, it was Allen Robinson as his 5th wide receiver. The other 4, Emmanuel Sanders, Jarvis Landry, Tyreek Hill, Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham had a bad Thursday night, but he still got 10 points, which is all right. And usually with those other 4, you're going to average out somewhere, have a consistent production out of them all. That's why he has the 4-1 record. I'm gonna pick Craig in this one. I'm gonna take Fat Morte for the upset. I think I like Cooper Kupp a lot. I like John Brown a lot. I think his backfield is okay. The big difference in this game is probably going to be, as long as LaShawn McCoy can make it through his game and stay healthy, that'll be all the difference he needs. And finally, we have Black Conference Showdown between the 3-2 Flying Spaghetti Monsters and the 3-2 Slaughterhouse. Big win for Flying Spaghetti Monsters this week as Michael Thomas is on the bye. That's a huge boost. He's the #1 wide receiver, I'm pretty sure still. He was last week. But that's definitely a big, big help. And so is acquiring Deshaun Watson last week. I paid the full price for him, I feel. I don't think I'll ever pay first-round price for a quarterback again. But I'm trying to get to the championship, and that's my Game of Thrones ringtone because I'm cool. But Deshaun Watson, I needed to run for the championship, and hopefully he's going to help me out this week, as I still have James Conner, David Johnson, and Chris Thompson in the backfield. And I got, Dalvin Cook. Hopefully, maybe someday he'll play from this hamstring injury. Who knows? And the newly acquired Kerryon Johnson. I feel like I'm set at depth. But yeah, I guess this isn't all about my team being a championship caliber team. At wide receiver, I got Hopkins and Davis leading the way. Funchess goes in this week as Amari Cooper is just mind-boggling. I blame Gruden. I haven't been watching the Oakland games, though, so who knows. But 1 target for 10 yards. He's had two games of about 3 points, which is, I'd say, a little disappointing. And then lastly, I got Gronk and Kittle rounding out my flex spot. Those guys can blow up at any moment. And, actually, the #1 defense in the league, Chicago Bears, should be locking it up against a soft Miami Dolphins this week. For the Slaughterhouse, Drew Brees is on the bye along with Michael Thomas, but that doesn't matter because Patrick Mahomes is right in the game. Followed by Kenyon Drake and Carlos Hyde and Phillip Lindsay in the backfield. Those are all fine running backs, nothing really special. I think his strength has been Michael Thomas for sure, and Lindsay came out really hot too, but has been falling off. Carlos Hyde and Drake could have good days. I just don't really see it happening. And the wide receivers are not so hot. Chris Godwin could definitely get better with Jameis Winston being in there, but he has to kind of prove it. I'll be surprised until he does. And Kenyon Drake's going against the aforementioned Chicago Bears. That's not a good day for him. And you got Cortland Sutton hopefully getting a little hotter in Denver. D.D. Westbrook in Jacksonville, Willie Snead in Baltimore. None of these guys are really popping off the screen here at me. I think Michael Thomas is really, really important to this team. Kenny Golladay also, definitely getting points. And Brandon Cooks might not play. So that's what happened to his receivers. As I was looking at it, I was wondering how Willie Snead found his way into the starting lineup. This is a super long video. Sorry I didn't script it. I'll script it next time and it'll be quicker. I just want to make sure I got a preview into you guys. Hope everything goes well. I'm going to pick myself for that last one due to numerous injuries and bye weeks for the Slaughterhouse. I need it. I want to win that belt. Good luck, everybody. You're going down, Jet.